Welcome to the Lazarus and Dangerfield Show. I am your host, Clint Dangerfield, and with me always is Mr. Buck Lazarus. Nice to see you again. It's been a pleasure. Always
still smoldering,
and pouting.
And more like blue steel.
Can't get wrong with blue steel. So coming up on today's episode, we are going to be going through 3 classic car chases: Bullitt, The French Connection, and the original Gone in 60 Seconds. So let's begin with Steve McQueen in Bullitt. What do you think of this car chase? This is probably one of the most famous car chases,
I had to wear this in homage of Steve McQueen. The blue turtleneck. He rocked it so well, and it is June, and I want to be here sweating my butt crack off. So yeah, why not? Bullitt, the car chase. Well, first of all, I want to say this is the first time I've ever seen this film. This is the first time I've ever seen any of these 3 films. It was interesting. Interesting and noteworthy, definitely. We spoke about car chases last week, and they were our 3 favorite, but they were also 3 of the highest rated. I should say for continuity, we said the last 20 years. We should actually probably say the last 30, and technically speaking, you said Back to the Future. That's almost bordering on 40. So,
well, I said Back to the Future wouldn't be included because that's not within the last 20 years.
But nor is Ronin or
I forget we're so far into it.
Nor is Ronin. None of those are. They're all like 90s. So strictly speaking, the last 25. So anyway, going back to Bullitt. Yes. So these are definitely Bullitt and French Connection are 2 of the highest rated car chases ever in most movie critics fans. So Gone in 60 Seconds we wanted to watch because we saw the remake last week, and we wanted to compare it to the original. So but again, still really highly regarded car chase. But let's crack on Bullitt. So Bullitt, first time watching this as a film. Yes, this was, I don't know, just films have changed a lot. They just really have. Not having grown up with this. So, and even Steve McQueen, this is a guy who's rated really highly as an actor. And I don't want to knock the guy, I just saw a lot of this.
The shifty dog look.
But exactly. I can't help but think of the shifty joke. Dog look.
I don't think this is one of his greatest films. He's brilliant in The Great Escape. This film is more about the car chase itself. And that's what it's known for, really, isn't it?
So I'll fill in all the blanks and I'll get to the car chase. So we had Robert Vaughn in this, of Man from Uncle fame. If you remember back to our 80s thing, he was in the A-Team. He's a great actor. Just in this, not really utilized in any way. Very articulate script. He just kept speaking Latin the whole time. Robert Duvall, I think this is a really early role for him because it didn't seem to be a big part. But he was balding then, which I found remarkable because I was like, which one is he? Which one is the bald guy?
There he is.
And yeah, as I said, just little things like, I don't know if you ever picked up on this, but when did sirens change in police sirens?
I don't know.
In all of these films, they always have that really like
wailing
siren. There was a great thing. I don't know if you picked up on this. Sideburn mustache informant. So a full sideburn into mustache beard. You just don't see them nowadays. Someone needs to bring that back, definitely. But in terms of cars, there's a great deal of some great cars in this. And one swear word, if you picked up on it, which I think for 68, I think this was quite remarkable.
I must have glossed over that.
Bullshit. One. So when we get to, it was just quite interesting. But let's talk about why we're here. And it was the police. It was a car chase. It was Steve McQueen, who's a policeman in his Mustang. versus the baddies in their Charger. So like for like, 2 spec cars, just great, just a great chase. This chase was, I even put that it was just went on for what seemed like a decade. They were in the city. It's San Francisco. It's a perfect racing location.
That very, very famous scene where they're going down the hill in San Francisco.
100%. And they slowed the cars down, which I found quite interesting. And I thought probably, and I can understand why, because you wouldn't get this in a lot of Hollywood films, but you would trash the suspension. The front end of your car, if you go over one of them too high, you're going to crash nose dive. You're literally going to nose dive, and it's going to be, your suspension's just going to snap. So I found that quite interesting that they slow down for that. You still get the jump, but it's not quite as dramatic as you would in Hollywood movies. And if you've seen the outtakes of Dukes or anything like that, they literally write off these cars because they're just doing these insane jumps. I don't know if there's an iconic number plate, but I did write it down. So JJZ 109. I'm sure there's a lot of people with that. There was Steve McQueen's license plate in it.
That's cool.
But the things I picked up on it, hubcaps, losing hubcaps, just classic. You've got to have this.
You've got to have a,
like 70s and 80s car chases.
You don't get that
hubcap.
Don't get it.
But we've got Lalo Schifrin, who did the soundtrack. Just a lot of classic films from that, but I was going to say one of his most famous is obviously Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee.
That's really cool. I didn't know that, but I was going to say it's just got one of the best intro. Into a movie.
Just the bass guitar, beautiful. Yeah,
so cool.
And that's what I was going to say. So during the chase, there was no music.
No. It's just driving.
Bourne had music, Ronin didn't, and I think that's why Ronin stood out. Again, it's just the noise of the cars you hear.
It's pure
you just
driving.
Hear the roar of these V8s, yeah. And Steve McQueen, he sort of loses sight for them for a while. He comes off, but then he manages to catch up with the bad guys again, and it's just an epic car chase. It's just one of those things you should just YouTube it and just.
And once again, it feels authentic. It feels genuine.
100%.
And I've noticed in all 3 of these films, there is a lot of behind the wheel footage.
Yeah.
Or
yes. Yeah.
Dash cam footage, which you don't really get. I don't recall seeing a lot of in more modern films in car chases.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and to an element, even the original, I think that's why the early ones, Too Fast and Furious and the first Fast and Furious.
There's a lot in these, in all 3 of these films. There's a lot of footage from behind the wheel, which is very cool.
One of the nice things I liked was after the chase, and Steve McQueen, his car takes a bit of a battering, but it's drivable, but he says, I'm going to need a new car. And I found that interesting that he actually asked for one, where in a lot of movies it just suddenly be fixed and be up and new and be ready and running, but it wasn't. So he has to roll around in his girlfriend, I guess it is, this beautiful Porsche. So it's the Porsche I believe that James Dean died in, but Porsches have a bad reputation, but I love this car chase.
It's great.
Not so much the movie, but definitely a very entertaining car chase. Right. Absolutely. French Connection
with Gene Hackman and the return of Roy Scheider from Jaws. Yes. So another one. I had no idea he was in this movie. I knew Gene Hackman was.
I've never seen any of his films, and now I've seen 2 of them. So bucket list.
You are on a roll. So just, literally a quick summary of this movie. A pair of New York City cops in the Narcotics Bureau stumble onto a drug smuggling job with a French connection, i.e. some people from France. And that's really the crux of the movie. Quite a bit of racism in this movie.
Yes, 100%.
Quite a lot of bigotry. It's I would go as far to say
Gene Hackman or Detective Popeye is a pervert.
Yeah,
as well.
It's a very not growing up in the 70s, it seems like a very 70s movie from kind of stuff you pick up from pop culture and just general references. And, but that aside, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought I enjoyed it more than Bullitt. Story-wise anyway, but car chase-wise, another great car chase scene. Most specifically, a lot of it's under train tracks.
So yeah, this was a different one, very different. Not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, he's chasing. Can I just say, actually, I mean, he's tailing a guy. He's following a guy on foot, and he's absolutely rubbish at tailing this guy. Gene Hackman just stands out like a sore thumb. You couldn't be more obvious.
It's the hat as well. He always wore a hat. His hat was just like,
The guy was in a restaurant, and he was stood on the other side of the street, just staring at them. But that's not very subtle. Anyway, so yeah, most of the car chase takes place through the streets of New York under train tracks, because he's chasing down the train, and so a lot of it, there's a lot of cross sections of traffic. He's trying to work his way through. Again, felt very authentic, very genuine. A lot of like behind the wheel footage of him driving. You see it from his perspective. It takes a few knocks as well.
A lot, actually. Really, he really hammers this car, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, we should say, it wasn't his car either, was it?
Oh no, yeah, he did stop some official police business and he did take their car away.
Just drive it like you stole it. Drive it like you stole it, definitely.
But it felt very intense. The whole chase, because of how it was set, for me, felt very intense. Always one eye looking above and the other eye trying to keep an eye out for everything else.
So I don't know if you knew this. This is regarded as the best car chase in any movie. Period.
That's interesting.
And the reason why is it sort of set the precedent for how car chases are shot ever since. A lot of the behind the wheel camera work in this. And so I was reading a lot about this, and the reason why it's a very real car chase in the fact that he has to use the brake, he has to stop. He avoided the woman in the push. He's pushing the stroller. He almost kills her. And I think, and the fact was that a lot of people feel that they're in the car with Detective.
That's exactly how I felt
through this.
How it was shot. You felt like you were in there, and that's why it felt really intense.
So, but I would say that's, for me, that was the only noteworthy thing of this film. I didn't enjoy it probably obviously as much as you. As I said, we picked up on the same things, but I'm glad you liked it though. That's good.
Yeah. What I mean by like enjoying the film is I enjoyed it more than Bullitt. I got into it more than I did of the story of Bullitt. It kind of held my concentration more.
Sure.
But that's neither here nor there.
Cool.
So, on to our last movie, the original Gone in 60 Seconds, which I didn't know existed probably until a few years ago. I always thought Gone in 60 Seconds was the same thing. But
no, I do. I remember. I don't know. So you obviously, I actually remember this, and I remember you brought it up actually back in the day. But you were the one that we'd actually spoken about rewatching or watching, I should say. And I remember this. Yeah, this was, we're talking 90s, saying we should watch the early Gone in 60 Seconds after we'd seen it in the cinema. So I remember having that conversation. Yeah, that's age for you.
Story-wise,
yes. So the stories. Similar to the remake, there's a list of cars.
There was even a scene that was the same that they remade and gone in the new version, which I thought was quite cool.
So if you caught last week's show, basically they're car thieves. They have to steal 50 odd cars. In the Gone in 60 Seconds, the old one, he's actually an insurance salesman or an insurance, I should say, like,
Kind of,
I
it's
don't know, I want to
almost
say
basically fraud, really, isn't
auditor,
it?
insurance,
Yeah.
but he commits fraud. So basically, he steals cars from rich people and then he writes it off as fraud and then he sells on the cars. So to a Venezuelan, I believe it was. So I wanted to ask you. So I asked you this midweek after watching this. What was the oddest thing about this film that you picked up on,
Apart from the acting,
apart from the acting?
which was just awful. The
Yeah, it
oddest,
wasn't.
the acting was terrible. Okay, the oddest thing I would have to say would be how easy it was to steal everyone's car. Most
Okay.
people seem to have just they get out the car and leave the keys in the ignition,
Yeah, they're
or
rich people.
they hire like they get the secretary to call up and say, "Oh, and I need a limousine for a wake at this
Yeah.
address," and the funeral company would turn up, and the driver would get out and go in, and someone else would just
Sure. I
get
know,
in the
you'd
car
think that, I
and
don't
drive
know if they
away.
were the
It's like,
same funeral company, but you'd think it would raise alarm bells, where the first, the remake, it made more sense in one night, so it wouldn't arouse cop suspicion. And maybe that was a point they made because it didn't make sense in the original. No, for me, the oddest thing about this movie is the dialogue. A lot of times it's a commentary.
oh
So
yeah,
they
good
relay
point.
this dialogue
Yeah,
and no one's spit and no
no one speaks.
mouths
There's just
moving. They're just
scenes
talking.
going on.
There's a scene
Yeah,
going on and they don't get me wrong, the film is shot reasonably well, but there are also some odd elements. So there's a car chase at night and there's no
oh,
street lamps.
I meant
So
to
you
say you
cannot
can't
see
see
a thing.
anything. It's just two sets of
Yeah.
headlights. Like what's
Um
going on?
and uh yeah, the acting was awful. Uh
Yeah,
there was a tow truck escape, which I did like,
that was
however.
quite cool.
So
Yeah,
so the main actor, and I'm gonna hold my hand up on this one. I was not that well invested in this film,
no,
but basically, your lead guy he's basically stealing a charger from a sales dealership, and the police roll up and think this is suspicious. A tow truck towing away a brand new car.
with a
I don't know why that
vicious
would be.
dog. My
I don't
gosh.
know why this would be suspicious, but I think this guy wrote the movie. Yeah, he did write the movie, so in his mind, and that's why it kind of reminded me of The Room a little bit. It was a little bit like The Room, sort of like a self-indulgent. But anyway, there becomes this epic car chase between a police car and him towing this Dodge Charger, and at times he's reversing it backwards, and I
It's
just thought it
really
was
good.
quite good. It was good, but yes, let's get on to the
So the car, you've got the Mustang, which is called Eleanor,
yes. To
which
be fair, actually, I wanted
they
to say
because they in the new movie it's Nick Cage's unicorn. Every time he tries to
yes,
steal it, something goes wrong,
yeah,
and they've taken that from this movie as well.
yeah, yeah.
Every time he tries to steal a Mustang, something goes wrong.
Something goes wrong, and they even make a point that it's everywhere. At that time, it was everywhere. But actually, I did want to say one thing I liked about this film, as opposed to the new one, was the cars. The cars in this film are superb, and like I said, I don't know where they spent their budget or who was borrowed it. So the writer director is actually a stunt driver, and
Makes
I
sense.
think this is why we'll come to the car chase. But we had Pantera, there's a Manta, there's just some amazing Ferraris. We've got Daytona. It's some beautiful cars in this, and ironically, the Mustang is sort of the crap car in this movie because there's just some beautiful cars. But yes, 40-minute car chase in this movie.
And this movie's 90 minutes long.
Minutes.
It's insane.
40 minutes. What did you
Thank
think
God
of the
for
car
that.
chase?
Thank God it was so long. I had
It
no
was, I
idea
thank God. Yeah, it was.
because the
And I think
rest of
this
the
is
movie was
why,
awful.
yeah,
But
yeah, it was,
40-minute car chase was absolutely epic.
yeah,
I nearly loved every minute. There was a little lull of about 5 minutes
sure.
where there wasn't an awful lot going on, and it was a bit, ugh, is this car chase still going on? And then it just takes it up another notch, and then for the rest of it was nuts.
It's just super interesting. There's always a new twist and turn. So there's a lot of parts where he gets cornered. But he always managed to find his way. Yeah, and the car is hammered.
You know,
he literally hammers his car.
It reminds me of playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
If you're on the run from the police and you somehow manage to find a way out of where you are, or you smash your car into something and you think, oh, that's it, it's over. Nope, car's still running. I can still keep going. And he does. He slams it into a lamppost.
It's interesting you say games, because I was thinking Need for Speed. So if you ever play the Need for Speed games and the police are after you, they're a lot more tenacious than on GTA. And GTA, you can kind of, you get into an area where they're not there. The stars go along, but with they're so tenacious, they just keep coming at. So you have to just find ways to destroy obstacles to get them off your back. And this is kind of what this movie was like. He just found if he wasn't evading them, he was crashing into them. Like, this was before nail chains, and I think that would have definitely changed a lot. But yeah, definitely.
Sorry, yeah, what did you think?
I was going to say, definitely this film is worth watching just for that chase. I would literally fast forward, definitely check out the tow truck thing, but just watch that car chase. It's just something else. And like you said, the only thing is, because it's 40 minutes, you are right, it sort of lulls. But I don't want to give away the ending of it either, and I don't think we should, because does he get away? Doesn't he get away?
Because there's so many times where you think, that's it, it's over. And
he has two counties. Yeah. He has 2 counties after him as well. Police, there's a hell of a lot of police cars and helicopters.
He caused a crash between 2 cars, which people were really badly hurt, and the cars started catching fire. And pedestrians running in, trying to help them. And then during the car chase, it would cut back to different points of people, how that was progressing, how fire engines turning up, how ambulance turning up, and people getting all these other people out, and it just kept cutting back to it. And at one point, he does drive. Past
like I said, odd film. It was just the cut scenes where they just go to different people making comments and stuff like that. It's just odd, but yeah.
Car chase.
So let's rank them. Let's rank these 3. What was your order
for car chases?
Car chases, yeah.
This one's really tough. Last week was quite easy. This one's really tough. I'm inclined to go with Gone in 60 Seconds first.
Okay.
Just because of the sheer audacity of doing a 40-minute car chase. And a really good 40-minute car chase. 35 minutes. I would say, of good, and in 5 minutes it just got a bit dull. But they're all really good. I can't pick. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can put them in order. Movie-wise,
I'll roll the dice.
Easy. French Connection, Bullitt, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Sure. Okay. So I think Bullitt's going to win overall for everything for me. I didn't love this movie, and to be honest, I neglected to say the plot. Not that I don't think the plots aside, no, you lose so much interest in it. It's a policeman chasing a guy that's wanted by the mob, basically. And basically the mob are out for him, and hence the baddies are, having a chase or having this massive race with Steve McQueen. I didn't love the movie. It felt old, it felt dated, and it was difficult to watch. But I loved this car chase. I loved the cars. It was a good balance of driver and car, and it's just equal. It's like watching a Lamborghini versus a Ferrari. And if you watch Miami Vice, where he had the Testarossa versus the Countach, they're just the 2 most 80s cars that you can think of in an epic race. And that's what I loved about this movie. Probably the 2 of the most 70 or 60 late 60s cars in a race. A Charger versus a Mustang.
Fair point. Fair point.
My second would be for car chase, definitely Gone in 60 Seconds. It did remind me of 80s TV shows, so I'm not gonna lie, and I think it probably paved the way for that. And then maybe it became a bit too cliche, if anything. And then last was French Connection. Not that I didn't love it, just because I was expecting cars. And it was an interesting idea, and I appreciate that it paved the way for the rest, and I have to thank it for that. But I just couldn't engage with that film in the way I wanted it to. And so that's my order of chases and my order of films.
Cool.
Ooh.
There we go.
Yeah. Just because the 40 minutes of Gone in 60 Seconds make up for the racism and everything else is just bad about that movie and French Connection.
So
there you have it.
Don't
hate me.
There's our picks. We hope you enjoyed this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the little bell icon to be notified of when the next video is available. Any final thoughts for us, Mr. Lazarus?
I'm one of those boys who appreciates a fine body regardless of the make.